Hello there. Hi. Welcome to Butterfly Effect, a podcast all about interviewing people. I'm your host, Tristan Ettleman. Hope things are going well for you. Hope you had a great week, just in general. I hope you're feeling good today. If you're not, you're gonna feel better tomorrow. Let's go with that. Let's go with it. You're gonna feel better tomorrow. It gets better. So hey, if you're listening, this is going to be a thing I'm going to be doing for a while. You should share this. I know I already got you here, and I appreciate if you're already listening, but if you like a thing, you should share it with people, because that helps the people of the thing that you like. You know what I mean? So, just a request that if you like the show, go ahead and let people know. That being said, if you don't, you do whatever you want. But I'm just going to be kind of putting that out there every once in a while, because I want people to listen. And there are people listening, and I appreciate those that do. So if you don't know my background, which I do not expect you to, I talk about it briefly in the first episode, which is just me explaining myself in this show. I've been around the world of video game writing and videos for a while, about almost 4 years now, which is really strange to me. And part of that process was me being on my own, trying to make a YouTube channel about video games. And I'm not going to tell you what it's called. What it was called, because it doesn't exist anymore. And part of that process was trying to get people to watch the videos, because you can do whatever you want. It can be really great content, and God, I hate that word. I say it too much. But if no one listens or watches, which is why I was asking you to share, then it just kind of it doesn't feel, it's not pointless, especially this show. This show I could do forever without anyone listening. But you want some validation. You want to share the work you're doing with people. You want people to consume it. So part of that process, anyways, was promoting it, doing that, and to that end, I would be on the Hidden Block forums, which was this community built around and by these bigger video game YouTubers, and the forums, you could promote or share your work there, and people could critique it and see it and go to it and blah blah blah. And sometimes it would get spotlighted if you did really, if it did really well, or if people really liked it. It would be on the front page of the website. So part of that was trying to put myself there. And through that, somehow, and we talk about this in the interview, I met Canipa. I don't know how it happened or what the initial factor was into engaging conversation, but somehow we met through Hidden Block, and we never actually met. He's in Australia. And I am in the United States, so we've never actually met. But we've had this weird kind of internet, acquaintance friendship thing, and we know of each other, and we've followed each other on Twitter and stuff like that. And we've been he's been around. He's been on a podcast that I've done on Invisible Gamer, which I write for when I can, /want to. It's hard to do things, people. So anyways, yeah, Canipa. I know Canipa. It's not like he's just some stranger that I've never talked to before. But Canipa is a cool guy, a very smart guy, a nice guy. And the way we met on Hidden Block was that it's a video game thing. So he used to do video game videos, but now he's really focused on, and we talk about this in the episode as well, the interview. I don't know why I say episode, which, that we do that too. He focuses on anime reviews, which anime I enjoy on a very passive level, on a very mainstream level for the most part. So to talk with someone that knows a lot about anime was really entertaining and enlightening and I hope it will be for you too. I think it's a really fun conversation. It's a little different because I know Canipa a little bit better than some of my other guests. So, yes, hope you enjoy it. See you on the other side. I'll shut up now. What time is it there again?
It's 5:30.
5:30.
Yeah, thankfully you didn't say we'll do it in the morning because I've screwed up my sleep pattern to the point where I'm just waking up at midday.
Yeah, no, I figured this would probably be the better time to do it anyways for me too, because I'm up at midnight anyways. So, yeah. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah. What's the podcast name, by the way?
What's that?
What's the podcast name?
Oh, it's called Butterfly Effect. I didn't mention
Butterfly Effect. Cool.
Yeah. No ties to the movie of the same name, but maybe I'll get some clicks from people looking for the movie for some reason. So, what are you working on right now, just in general? Do you have a video in the works?
I've got many videos in the works.
Yeah.
Loads of anime reviews, and basically the season's just wrapped up, and I'm now having to review as much as I can within this limited space before the next load of shows come along and take up my time.
Right, so I guess I don't really understand anime to that extent, but there's a summer season of shows and a winter season of shows. Is that right?
Yeah. So we just got out of the summer season, so there's 12 episodes within each block, and then it's usually like 1 or 2 weeks in between, and then the fall season starts, and get excited about new stuff all over again.
Right, so it's not the same shows that come back. They come back next year in the fall or the summer.
Sometimes they do. Like, each show is separated into a cour, which is like 12, 13, or 11 episodes. And sometimes they will just go, yeah, whatever, we'll do 26 episodes or 24.
Is that an anime thing, or is that a Japanese broadcast thing? Because I feel like it's such a foreign world.
Yeah, I think it's a Japanese broadcast thing. Like, we have seasons in the West, but they're way more flexible. They're completely happy to say we'll start our show in November, even though in Japanese terms that would be in the middle of the season and it would be unheard of.
Right. Yeah, we have like mid-season shows that start all the time, and actually, I don't even know how it necessarily works in Australia either, honestly. But I imagine it wouldn't be that much different than other Western cultures and stuff like that. But TV here, like generally the big shows come out during the fall, but then there's stuff that just pops up in October and September and, like you said, November, and then like there's stuff that comes back in or starts in January out of nowhere. So it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
So it seems like Japanese broadcast, or at least anime, is like definitely fit into those time frames.
Happens with games as well. Like it's like from about around now until Christmas, just everything exciting just suddenly gets lined up.
Yeah, but even that's kind of breaking out, at least in the U.S. Like things like come out in May now randomly, or things get delayed to like first quarter. Like I feel like it's starting to get a little too much now, honestly. Because you're right. It's the lion's share is still in like the holidays because everybody's obsessed with Christmas in the Western world, but there's still stuff just coming out all year. It's like, come on, I just need a break. I don't need to spend more money on these games.
Having The Witcher 3 as a like summer game, like the filler game, is just ridiculous. Like,
yeah, it'll like keep you tide you over till Fallout 4, and then you start the whole thing over again. And it'll tide you over to the summer, and then it's hard to keep up. But you mentioned that you're like trying to keep up with anime shows until the next stuff comes out. Like, what is that looking like in terms of what it is now versus even like a few years ago? I don't know if you've been keeping up for how long, but like, is there more are there more shows out there, or is it kind of just staying the same?
There's definitely more shows out there now. Like a few years ago, I wasn't watching things seasonally, but then
Right.
they brought in like all these streaming platforms. There's Crunchyroll, like Australia's Anime Lab, which and America has Funimation, Daisuke. There's just loads and loads of programs that are very rapidly encouraging people to get into more and more stuff, to the point where we're getting licenses for shows that nobody would have ever watched like 10 years ago. Like this one show called Lovely Muka, which is a short show about a dog. Like, it's a kids show, which is weird to see it on stuff like Crunchyroll, where the demographic is a lot older than that.
Right.
But yeah, it's this pushing of so many more shows each and every year, to the point where, yeah, everything has changed.
Is there like a lot of, I guess it's TV, so I guess you wouldn't say it's indie, but are there a lot like of smaller animation studios, whatever, like getting away with like random, like, I mean, Japan has always been, weird, but I mean, like, are there like weirder, smaller things that are getting made that weren't being made even a few years ago?
Actually, I think there's less of that now.
Really?
I think,
Okay,
yeah.
that's interesting.
There still are stuff like there's this show called Kagewani, which is this weird show where did you ever watch what is it, Amanda Anaconda?
No, is that an anime?
No, wait, Amelia something. Anyway, it's got this weird cut-out style where like everything seems to be like, all the animation seems to be done on a puppet tool, and it's just
weird.
Really creepy. And it's this horror thriller show, like just 7 minutes each week. But yeah, super niche stuff still gets around, because they have the time slots for them in Japan. Like, they'll just say, okay, we need something to fill this. Oh, these guys are making that. Let's put it in there.
Right, and yeah, because you mentioned horror thriller. I used to just think anime was Dragon Ball Z. Like, that's what I thought it was. And then maybe it's just me, like, becoming aware that there are genres within anime. I used to think anime was a genre. And even, like, years ago, I realized that wasn't the case. But as a kid growing up in, America, I didn't know that there were these kind of... Even then, that there were these kind of things like, even around then there was Trigun, which is definitely one genre. And, so there's genres within anime. So I guess that's kind of why I thought there might have been some kind of experimentation going on. But it sounds like there's still a little bit, at least.
Yeah. Anime seems to have its own genres that it's developed by itself that you won't see in Western media. Like, even the idea of slice of life, which is just do it like just general normal days in everyday life with a bit of comedy moments. We don't usually get that, because even stuff like I don't know, Neighbours, EastEnders, to name the Australian and UK ideas.
I'm familiar with Neighbours.
Yeah. Even them, they've got to versatile things. They've got to introduce, this drama bit, someone died, what's happening, whilst anime is very much, it can stick to a single idea and somehow, some way pull it off through its own tropes and ideas that it's managed to develop somehow.
Yeah, the closest you probably get to that in Western culture is something like The Office, and not even the American Office, but the original British show, because it ended before it could go anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it ended while it was still on top of what it was doing,
Yeah, well, it never had to, like, The Office blew up. What are we going to do now?
Well, like, that's why I distinguish between the American Office, because things like that never happen. But, like, people get married, or, people leave the office, they go work somewhere else. Like, there are, like, these kind of dramatic moments that aren't necessarily like, oh no, but it's like things that push a plot along, some kind of change. But even anime, though, I mean, they don't run for, like, 9 seasons, right? Like, they generally are, other than the shows that are huge, other than, like, the mega franchises.
Yeah, there used to be a time, a long while ago, it was probably 90s and 80s, where it was this accepted idea of, oh, you're starting a show, well, you'll be doing that for the next, like, 1.5 years. Whilst now it
Right.
is, like, you've got 12, 24, if you want any more, like, make it popular and we'll talk about it.
Right, because I even see anime based on manga that goes on forever. The anime itself only lasts, like you said, 12 or 13 episodes.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're not as locked in as just the Western culture, America or whatever, is just really focused on let's keep this thing going. Whereas they're like, oh, here's the thing, it's good, and we're done. That was fun.
Yeah.
But I guess it used to be like that, as you mentioned.
Yeah, we do have issues in the fact that there's some adaptations that don't really intend on making a season 2. They
Right.
there'll be shows that will get up to this point and then will present a brand new plot line and will try and hype it up and go, wow, this is going to be amazing. We'll see the climax of this show, and it just leaves it off there. And that's just because they want to support the source material, because that's how these anime are made. There's a production committee, and the biggest voice on that production committee is the publisher of the original work, because they're the one that paid for it, and they're the one that wants to promote the original source material. So if they decide that they can get more sales by just leaving it open-ended, then they're totally happy to do that.
Right, and I actually, that point, I was watching some of your videos to kind of familiarize myself with you. But I was watching your Dragon Ball Super review, and you mentioned how that's not really a thing, because there's no Dragon Ball Super manga. Correct?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super is a weird.
Well, I mean, it's Dragon Ball. It can subsist on its name. You know, I feel like it's like probably huge that it can do that, but that seems to be like the one outlier of that situation.
Yeah, it's a show that should not exist by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not sure what deals gone on with it, because it's gone from this place where it started in Weekly Shonen Jump, and then Weekly Shonen Jump paid for an anime to be made. Now it's turned over the other way, so the guys who are making the anime now seem to have power, like some sort of stance over it, to the point where they're paying for it themselves, and Shonen Jump is supporting it, but not nearly as much as they were before.
Right. Yeah, I haven't gotten around to watching any of it yet, mostly because I prefer the dub. But,
Same.
I'm just one of those. But I think you were even mentioning that like Dragon Ball is one of the few that like I think even generally people think that it's like one of the few that like the English dub is really good.
It is. Funimation I don't know why they can't do it with their other works, but the script writing in there and the jokes that they put in that are not in the source material at all are just really, really good. Like, I watched the movie and I couldn't stop laughing, and I was like...
Oh, yeah. Which one? I haven't seen Resurrection F, but I loved Battle of the Gods.
Yeah, I love both of them.
I haven't seen the second, but it's on my list.
Yeah.
So hopefully watch it soon. But I think Battle of the Gods is like the best Dragon Ball thing ever. Like, let alone a movie or even... Because the series is great, you know, and I actually am a big fan of Dragon Ball, not Z. I mean, I love Z, too.
Oh, yeah, I like Dragon Ball.
Formative, and it's whatever, But Battle of like it gets drawn out forever. But I could be like, if I wanted to show someone Dragon Ball Z, ignoring all the continuity crap that you know they need to know, I could sit them down. You could probably sit them down in front of Battle of the Gods and be like, this is a thing, and they'd enjoy it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
There is like, I mean, there's lots of like, who the hell are these characters and whatever. But I feel like a lot of the action is beautifully animated and the humor is there. I think it's just the best like condensation of Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
which was surprising for a years later movie, you know.
Yeah, it's weird because they have managed to compress it, and it's now I'm watching the films, and it's like, this is the ideal way I wanted to watch Dragon Ball rather than 100 episodes.
Yeah, because the fights feel more epic when they're kind of actually there's something at stake instead of being like, you know, people always joke about people powering up for an episode, but that's kind of how the show is, you know? So you kind of lose a stake in it, but when it's like a punchy 30-minute fight scene, you're like much more vested than in one that like is dragged out over.
And of course they have to with the with the series, because the fights are going that long and they can't make it interesting for that long, there's always going to be these points where they'll like, oh, let's go and do a flashback, or let's go and
God.
see what's going on with Krillin. How are you doing, Krillin? There's a battle going on.
Yeah, I always like when I actually like the filler episodes of Dragon Ball just because they like flesh out this weird kind of world. But a while ago I was watching through the entirety of the series of Z, and it was getting really infuriating sitting there in one sitting watching one episode and then the next episode basically being a recap of the last episode. And I'm like,
yeah,
it might not have been as annoying watching it when it was airing. It probably still would have sucked, but watching it in one go is like the most infuriating thing. But anyways, Dragon Ball. That's the big anime. But yeah. So I guess, where are you from? You're Australian, but like what?
Not originally.
Oh, okay. So there you go. Explain it to me. Where you're from?
Okay. I'm from the UK,
Okay.
which explains the accent. Despite
right,
yeah, people always
Sorry,
get confused between the English and the Australian accent, and I feel like I'm just doing a disservice to that stereotype, because now I'm saying I'm Australian in an English accent.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm just an ignorant American, so don't mind me. But I now that you say that, I can detect that it is British. You know, I can generally tell the difference between British and Australian, but you know, everyone has different voices, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue.
So yeah, I came over when I was like 9, and yeah, Australia's a lot better.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously I was really young there, so I didn't experience all the UK had to offer, but there's just something really nice about being 20 minutes away from the beach.
Yeah, and a nicer beach than I'm sure the beaches are in in the UK. What was like the motivation for moving to Australia? Parents get a job or something?
My parents are fairly whimsical to the point where it's like, this is a cool idea.
Let's move the family to Australia.
Yeah. I'm sure there was more thought put into it at the time,
Right.
but from my perspective, it always seems like just a nice idea at the time. But yeah, I think it was just the prospect of something better.
Well, and I guess it did end up better because like you said, you like Australia more than you like the UK. Where are you in Australia again?
I'm in Adelaide, which is the bit that all the bands, all the comedians, all the events, they all just miss this city and they all go to Melbourne and Sydney instead.
Oh, right. Okay. So Adelaide is the one that's like, because I knew there was an Australian city that is relatively prominent, but like misses out on like all that stuff that you said that people joke about all the time.
Yeah. I think in primary school they call it the city where people come to die.
Oh God! Is there a large senior population?
There's not a super large senior population, but there certainly is a population, and
eventually the people that are there will become seniors themselves.
Yeah. And you'll talk to people at university, and they'll be said, like, you'll say, "Oh, what's your dream job?" And they're never going to say anything to do with Adelaide. They'll go, okay, I'm going to go to Melbourne and I'm going to work here, or I'm going to go to the States and I'm going to work here. And it's like, okay, what about this city that you live in? And nobody has an answer for that.
So you're going to university right now, correct?
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's Flinders University.
What kind of school is that? Are they called majors in Australia? What do you call them? What is your focus, I guess?
My major it's called Creative Arts Digital Media. That
makes sense.
It's a fairly broad topic, so I do get the opportunity to take all the film courses, all of the graphic art courses. I even get to do the visual art courses, except I can't draw for shit. So I never really dived into that, and like 3D stuff as well. So I've had all these opportunities that I've said no to, and mostly gone for anything like streamlined multimedia stuff, like the topics where you get to do various digital art stuff or various film stuff. I've never really liked going into something super specific.
Yeah, that makes sense with doing videos on YouTube. But so what's in those conversations you have about dream jobs? Does yours also move out of Adelaide, or what are you aiming towards?
Would definitely go out of Adelaide. Ideally, it's something to do with web video, because I fucking love web video.
Yeah,
Stuff on
it's
YouTube.
the future.
Yeah. It seems to be something that's just growing and developing into something new every time. But yeah, I'm never sure. Video editing for something would always be good, but I'd love to be able to work on my own stuff, like walk into an office and say, this is what I'm doing today, and could you help me out with it?
Yeah, like be a personality in your own right, you mean? Not necessarily editing someone else's stuff. Yeah, I can do basic edits, but I would probably lose it if I just had to edit as a living. But I know certain people are really great at that and can do that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I can do my own basic edits, and then that's it. That's my capabilities.
Yeah, I've worked on short films, and there's been there's two situations. There's one where I'll be there from the start, and I'll be on set. I'll be there when they're planning and writing it, and that's great because I know exactly what the film is meant to be, and I know what everyone else wants the film to be, so it usually comes out great. And then there's other times where I'm less involved, and I just said, oh yeah, I'll do the editing, and then a week later they say, okay, we filmed it all, and could you come to the edit suite and edit it? And that is always the blandest thing, because it's like, okay, right. You didn't let me know that, if you would have asked, I would have come along to the shoot, or at least just had a conversation about what the film was meant to be. So yeah, having to kind of work it out by myself and just occasionally send messages is not fun.
Definitely not. What were some of those short films that didn't work out so well? Because I always like to hear short film ideas because they are always weird or not very good. But I mean, I'm not saying anything you worked on is not good, but just I've had a few guests on already that have been like, they told me about some of the short films they made, and they always just sound funny. Just the initial premise of them.
The main one was actually, to be honest, this one wasn't that bad, but it was a wombat documentary. This is the main one that I enjoyed doing. But
that sounds fucking rad.
Yeah. The thing is, I was also brought on to do sound, so that's the thing. I was on set for this one, but yeah, I didn't know what the hell we were doing. So we just got to chat around with wombats.
Yeah, was someone else like the wombat expert? Were you just along for the ride, or did anyone know what they were doing with wombats?
There was a wombat expert there, and the director was there, and he was like, "Oh, we need to make this great story about this place." And I was just first I was in the car, then I was with a load of wombats, then I was going home, then I was editing it, going, "What the fuck did we do?"
That's funny. Is it anywhere that anyone could see it, unless you don't want to tell people to go see it?
I actually never followed up with it. I just
That's fine.
I just edited it, and I was like, okay, good, done.
Google wombat documentary. Maybe you'll find it.
Yeah, probably.
So I guess you definitely went down this. You're going down this track right now with digital video and everything like that. But what was kind of the first attempt? Because I know you had a video game channel for a while, and what were some of the influences? I guess mostly like a lot of YouTube people, I would assume. But
this is gonna sound awful, isn't it? Okay, so do you know about Hidden Block?
Yeah, I think I was gonna bring this up.
We met each other at Hidden Block.
That's where I think that's where I thought we met each other, but I wasn't sure because you've been around for like a couple years that we tweeted each other or whatever, or you came on a podcast on Invisible Gamer, a website I write for. But I was like trying to think about it. I'm like, where did we actually make that connection, and I guess it would be Hidden Block, huh?
Yeah. So I was watching Balrog the Master for a while. I was like, oh, these videos are pretty cool. Then I never actually got into many of the other Hidden Block people, but basically they advertised the forums, and they advertised this idea of you'll get spotlighted if you make something really good. And I was like, whoa, that's a fast track to fame.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my thought was too.
Yeah, so I started a YouTube channel, made videos, and posted them to that website, originally based on the idea of getting a spotlight. Very quickly, it did turn around to the point where I was like, okay, a spotlight would be nice, but I'm not really bothered at this point. And the community was good in the fact that they kept telling me my videos were shite. So I was kind of driven to improve. They weren't shite, but
your recent videos, all your anime stuff is I think is really slickily, really well edited is what I'm trying to get at. You know, yeah. I think they're pretty slick editing, and it's something that I'm not good at, so I respect it when I see it.
Thanks. I would put more. I'm always struggling with this idea of I want to put more time into these, but then I also want to prove to myself that I can do this stuff rapidly on schedule. Yeah. And because with video games, we always had this case where it was rare if someone managed to get a video out every 2 weeks. People will constantly say, going to be a video every Friday or every second Friday even, but nobody could keep to it. So
especially the people that do the shows in the format that you do them.
Yeah. Like I could get out my camera and I could sit on my sofa and I could just talk live, but I just that's not the sort of videos that I started YouTube to make.
Yeah, yours and and other people. John Tron is one that pops in my mind of he's constantly going hey, and I'm fine for waiting because he makes really great videos. But they're much more they're like little episodes of a little their production. Yeah. Whereas nothing against Let's Play people or whatever. I try to do it for a while, but that's a little bit easier to get down on a schedule because there's no script and there's no.
Oh, God.
A little more loose.
I definitely respect Let's Play people.
No, yeah, I tried it for a while. It's really hard.
It is
to get on a schedule, not to put down. In fact, the opposite. Because if you can do that week in, week out, day in, day out, even it's man, you got some.
Yeah,
got some free time and some devotion.
Yeah, I tried it once. It's not live because I just scrapped it completely after a while. But yeah, I ran out of things to talk about 2 minutes in, and I was like, oh, hey, look, character on screen, and he's moving. Wow. So, yeah, I can't do Let's Plays.
Well, that's where I think the best Let's Plays are duos or groups.
Yeah.
Because then it just becomes a podcast with video game footage over it, which is what, I don't watch Let's Plays for the video game. I watch them for the personalities. So that can be tough to do on your own, Maybe just do voices, have a fake second person, and just go back and forth.
Yeah, I might get around to doing them someday again, but yeah, I need to train myself at being able to talk about nothing for a while.
Yeah, definitely. There is an art to Let's Plays, and people like to shit on them, but...
Yeah, like PewDiePie, the fact that PewDiePie is able to get out so many videos so constantly and be able to engage that massive audience every time, that's impressive.
He's good, he's great. He's not really my jam. I don't subscribe to him or whatever, but he was on fucking, what was he on? A late show.
Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, he was on Colbert. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? A YouTube Let's Player's on Colbert Report.
Yeah.
No, he was on Late Show. And then I was just blown away by that, that's crazy that he was on there. But I guess late night's starting to do that too.
Yeah. pretty much all of those late night shows I've seen, like, they have some sort of video game section because they know,
Right.
that's growing, that's something that the kids will tune into.
Right, yeah, and I just watched Sean Murray,
Yeah.
No Man's Sky. He was just on like last night or something. I watched the little interview. But yeah, you're right. They are like Conan has Clueless Gamer, and I think part of that's like the guy that does that is like really into games. I don't know if he's a writer or producer or whatever, but yeah, everyone has something like that. Jimmy Fallon's had, I think he had Morpheus on and stuff like that. So I think they're realizing that's where all the baby boomers are dying to go move on to the next demographic, you know. But,
let's get this cool game on and show all the kids, and even if they're not familiar with it, we've suddenly engaged them by saying video game, new video game.
Yeah, and you know, it's a lot of these late night shows too have like active YouTube channels, and so this kind of ties it back to like just digital media being the future. Like they're realizing that like they're not getting the ratings they used to, and so they have to do the video games thing in the first place. But just having it on TV talking about video games is not enough, so they have to be active on YouTube or whatever. And you see lots of TV doing that, you know, like putting up, you know, clips all over the place, or even like Late Show is just like almost its entirety is on YouTube. Like they post like all the interviews and stuff like that, which is I think very smart.
Because it's getting to that point where like you ask someone 20 years ago, do you watch television? And that's the stupidest question of all time. Like,
right.
Of course, everyone does. It's like 7 p.m, everyone sits in front of the television, whilst, like, you could ask at an assembly who still watches television, and you will not get as many hands up, like, as you might expect.
Or you might get, like, little in-betweens, you know, where they're like, well, I don't watch TV, but I have Netflix, and I have Hulu, and I keep up with shows, but I don't, you know, I don't have a cable box, you know? So, yeah, that's moving along. So, YouTube is kind of the place to be, and I know that's not a controversial or a new thought, but it is it's relevant to what you're doing.
It's just ad revenue on YouTube is stopping, like, all these, like, big talented names to going, cool, we'll just do YouTube instead. So
you're saying it's like stopping them from doing that?
Yeah, there's not enough money in it.
Enough money on it?
Like, even if you have an unpopular TV show, like a late night, not many people are watching, on some obscure channel, you're still going to get more money than you are from YouTube.
Right, and yeah, because I feel like people are extrapolating like the success stories and thinking that is what's happening, like with PewDiePie, that he's making, you know, millions of dollars or whatever, and like that's a certain situation where like it's pretty much just him, right? Like that like, he doesn't have like a production company or whatever. Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure he has some.
He's probably got a manager or something.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like he has to pay a whole crew all the time, you know.
No.
And TV shows do have to do that, and you're right. I'm not the stuff I have done on YouTube. I don't really monetize because it's mostly just been portfolio building or passion projects. But as I understand it, there's not much money to go around if you're a smaller name.
There isn't. Like, you'll find some, like if you have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, you're not necessarily going to be able to live off that, like, super well, rather than if you have 1 million viewers to your TV show, you are, like, rocking it. Like, congratulations, sir.
Right. Yeah, there is still that disconnect, and I feel like once that bridge, or that gap rather, is bridged, then we'll see people kind of flock to, not necessarily even YouTube, because I feel like I'm using YouTube as a substitute for just online video, you know, because that is the current platform, but, you know, something else could come along and be more attractive to legacy media people. But
it's why Patreon and stuff exist.
Right, yeah.
And of course people are always selling shirts and stuff just to be able to tap into that market, because that's like, I don't view YouTube as a great way of getting money, but it is a fucking great way of amassing, like, subscribers, of basically proving yourself to a larger audience.
Yeah, like fan loyalty, because I feel like most things on YouTube, first, there is a big difference between YouTube and TV, because most things on TV are scripted or whatever, or, there's a disconnect in who you're seeing. You're seeing actors and whatever. Most things on YouTube, there are web series and whatever, but there's, it's you talking into a mic over anime footage, and it's you, so, like, people are connecting to you personally, and that goes for, like, a lot of the most popular stuff on YouTube. People are watching PewDiePie. They're not watching an actor playing PewDiePie. I mean, he plays up himself, I'm sure, but you understand what I'm saying. People feel much more connected, and I think that's what people feel really loyal. Like, I see people on Patreon pledging huge amounts of money to these just people because they feel like they're connected and they're friends and whatever. And that's not necessarily something people are crazy about. TV stars, but I don't think it's like necessarily the same thing.
Yeah. Also, you're going for a different audience. Whilst you are going for an audience which has more money and more time. Well, not necessarily more time, but the teenage audience is definitely one of the more. Okay, it's going to sound bad, but rabid fan bases.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I think that might be able to be scientifically proven, I think.
Yeah, like, if you get that audience, they are going to buy all of your merchandise. They are going to engage with you in so many ways. If you release a t-shirt saying, I got a new t-shirt, people are going to buy 10 of those. Whilst, on TV shows, like, you can't really imagine, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds going, I'm going to buy 10 of your t-shirts, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, or going on Twitter to follow him. I mean, he has probably millions of followers, but like, his Twitter follower base is like a small percentage of the people that actually see him on TV.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that percentage of people that like follow people is much higher in the online video YouTube space. Even though it still is, like, there's still a huge percentage that watches a video and never comments or whatever, but I think it is higher than TV in general.
Yeah, they're going to be more likely to follow everything that you do. They're going to be the ones searching up your name, seeing if you've gone and done this video, or you've done a tweet, or posted something on Facebook. Right.
And that's the kind of people I want listening to this show.
Yeah. They are the dream audience.
I want to create a mob of people I'll create a name for, like little butterflies. No, I don't really like that trend of like naming your fan base, but something like that. And people can have T-shirts with my face on it.
The dream.
That's the dream. So we kind of got off track there, but that's kind of the nature of the show as I'm still fleshing it out here. But we're just talking. But so I kind of mentioned like your YouTube kind of online video influences, and you did video game reviews for a while. Is that like, are you done with that for now?
I wish I wasn't done with it. Like, every time anyone says, "Oh, you done with that? So you're now anime," and I never want to admit it, but I probably am. I think it wouldn't be. I think one video a year is probably a decent estimate. Like, I really, really want to make a video on Tales of Zestiria. The problem is, if I'm going to be saying, okay, I will do a video for this channel, but why am I not posting it to someone else or somewhere else where, like, I've got someone who will say thank you for that video. Like, I could post it to a site or something. That's the thing.
Right. Yeah, so I guess maybe you're not ruling it out, but you just kind of...
Yeah, it's a channel that I want to get the Dragon Ball Z, like, time capsule, like, the time chamber, and I just want to sit in there and I just want to say, okay, for the next 2 years, I'm going to make videos and I'm going to come out and it's going to be 2 days and I'm going to be set.
That sounds like a really sad existence, though, at the same time. That's exactly. I've said this multiple times to multiple people. Like, I wish I could just not have to sleep.
Yeah.
I could get so much done.
Yeah, I've completely screwed up my time patterns just because of videos. Like, I need to finish this off, and I'll be up until 8 a.m. and look outside and the sun's risen.
That's true. I'm pretty much not getting much sleep as it is anyways, but it'd be nice to know your just body wouldn't need it. And the thing that's important about this little fun fantasy I have for myself is that I have to be the only one that has it, because if the whole world is like this,
then
the new schedule, everyone's gonna be like, all right, so you're gonna work 18-hour work shifts, and then so it'll just adjust. So I have to keep my own little secret thing. But I could like write a novel, and like I'll be like, all right, so from 3 to 6 in the morning, I'll be working on my novel, and then I'll go to work in the morning. It'd be a nice life. Maybe one day we can like make a pill or something that just lets you do that. I think they already kind of do. They kind of have that already, but
I think they have weird side effects to the point where you're just always exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. The side effect of not getting enough sleep being you're tired. So what were some of the factors in wanting to cover anime and moving from video games to anime, and what were some of those like earliest anime that you remember watching as a kid, as a younger teen, as an older teen? Like, what was the stuff that led to covering or reviewing anime?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I had a friend who was fairly into manga, and he basically introduced me to a few series. One of my favorites, because it was at the school library. They had all these shelves, like it was just small sections, but it was like, oh yeah, there's this manga scattered around here. So I read Hunter x Hunter, and then shortly after I was like, oh, it's got an anime, but I haven't really watched anime before. Like I watched Pokemon as a kid, but then I really, really got into this. This is Hunter x Hunter, like 1995 or something. Like, they had 2 different anime series. They ended up remaking it, like 2011. But and so I'd always been watching anime. Like I'd even some of the videos on the Canipa show are related to anime in some way. It's just got to that point where I was starting to watch more and more series, and then I was starting to watch them weekly, like simulcasted, and it got to that point where, I'm gonna set up an anime channel, and I'm gonna do both at the same time. I'm gonna do video games and anime. It's gonna be great. And it turned out to me that anime is a lot... anime videos are a lot easier to make because you don't need to play the game.
Yeah. Just a time investment, the base time investment is much lower than a game.
Yeah. And basically it was always the case of, I enjoy making the video, like 9 times out of 10, I enjoy making the video more than I do playing the thing that the video is about. So I'd have a blast, and I'd go, wow, Gotcha Force is amazing. But then I'd do the video, and it would just be it's way, way more fun to talk about it, and basically like make all these little edits and all these little jokes and observations that I found whilst playing it. And and it got to that point where whenever I was playing a game, I was wondering when I could stop playing the game so I could like make the video instead. With anime, since I'm doing stuff like simulcasted, I'm doing stuff like as it comes out. Like I've got these Vital 3 reviews where I'll review something when it's 3 episodes in, or the anime reviews where basically I'm reviewing it as soon as it's done. It means that everyone's on the same page. If I'm making a review before the show is finished, everyone's going to call me out on it, saying we're only 11 episodes in, the final episode hasn't aired. So it's just a case of, I'm watching anime anyway. It's not something that I have to like invest a load of time in, because they are all short shows, and it just made everything easier.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably easier to easier to be timely too with anime, and that's a big part of getting an audience. Being able to post in terms of video games, being able to post a review even the day it comes out, or even a week later. And it's probably a lot easier to do that with anime, especially like you said, the Vital 3, where you're doing it 3 episodes in, so you're not even having to watch the entire series, and so it's easier to like give your impressions on it. At that stage.
It's a lot of the time with games, because I still like review games for a site, and it's just the case of
video or written.
Both.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So there is just this case of review copy of Mad Max, and it will get fun for like 3 hours, but then I'm having to drag myself through it, and I now am obligated to do so, whilst I'll be watching like 20 anime series, and I can just say, oh, I don't like this one anymore, I won't bother covering it, I've got 10 more options to do.
Yeah, it's just, you're falling into the anime industry probably like a little easier than you are into the grind of the video game industry, which is like intense.
Yeah, so it's not the case that, I suddenly liked anime more. It's that in terms of video production, anime was just more fun to me because I could spend more time doing the bits that I liked.
That's good. And I watched your fun little joke video, the top 10 anime. So I guess you don't need to tell me your real top 10, but what are some of your favorites of all time? Because I might have seen some of them.
Bakano is definitely up there. And
never seen it.
Okay. And from the same author, Durara.
Not familiar.
I
have a friend who's really into anime, so the names, I'm like, yeah, right on, I've heard of this, but I'm like, I don't really know much beyond the news or the premise. But
those two shows they're really good because they've got this weird directing style where they're always rapidly changing perspectives, and like the show, like Bakano starts at the end, and then and then basically you're seeing like all these things that have happened, and the rest of the series just, okay, how did we get here? And runs through so many perspectives. But
it sounds kind of like some detective stories sometimes are. It'll like show like the murder happening, and you see who does it, and then there's specific movies and shows and stuff that have done that, but none of them are coming to my mind. But
it puts the audience at a greater knowledge than the characters themselves.
Yeah, that's fun. A fun situation to be in.
But then there's also Chronicles of the Going Home Club, which I included in that video. Like, it's my favourite comedy series, but hardly anyone has watched it, because it's one of those things that kind of got lost in time at the end of, I think it was at the end of 2013 or the end of 2012, one of the two. And it got completely overlooked, but I still maintain that it's the best comedy series of all time.
Wow.
So
that's an intense. That's an intense claim there.
Yeah. So I like to throw it in just random videos as a joke, just in the hope that someone will actually watch it, come back to me and say thank you.
Well, maybe I'll watch it and I'll come back and say thank you, because I do have like a whole and I can't even count how many anime are on my list of just things of shows I want to watch. Because again, I have this close friend that that he's in the same situation you are probably, where he's like, got Crunchyroll, he's watching things as they come out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's told me about them. I'm like, that sounds like really cool. I don't have the time to watch all these things. But it's kind of comes back to that thing that we were talking about earlier about like genres within anime. There's probably an anime for everyone if you're willing to watch an anime, So like, because there's just so much diversity, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, and even if there isn't something airing at the moment, obviously you can just go back and watch something, and then I always love doing this. Cause, I've recently got into basically whenever you start watching anime and getting involved in like the whole talks around it, people will say, okay, Lupin III made by TMS Entertainment, and then start generalizing the idea of, oh, TMS Entertainment makes great shows when, like, you actually research it, and it's like, oh, but the top animator was freelance, all of this was outsourced, the director, it just comes from another studio completely. So, yeah, I found that the best way to find shows that you like is just follow the names. Like,
That's interesting.
yeah, actually, like animation appreciation, director appreciation, go onto sites, find out the director's name, find out what they did, and then it's the same thing with film. Although film directors' names are more prominent, they are in anime.
Yeah, and I guess part of that too is sometimes that can happen with video games as well. I mean, the studio can kind of be totally different than it was years and years ago, you know.
Yeah, people constantly say, "Oh, this is such an Ubisoft game," when it's like, "Oh, but that's Ubisoft Montreal, and that's Ubisoft."
Especially when you get to those big companies like that, there's a lot of moving parts in there. I saw a while ago that you hit 10,000 subscribers, which I was really
it's
not surprised, but I was like, oh man, I wasn't really keeping track, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah,
congratulations on
crime. That. I've done a terrible thing. I've absorbed 10,000 people into my bullshit.
What's the anime community like, and specifically, what have you noticed in your little world, your fan base there? Like, what are they just like in general, I guess?
That's a good question.
Hard to pin down.
Yeah, the anime community is in some ways, but not as much. It's the same thing as saying the video game community, and that's there's so many little subsectors, and there's so many of them that you just probably won't interact with. Like, there's a whole chunk of people who only watch One Piece, Naruto, and stuff, and watch the episode vloggers, and I will probably never see them. But then there's also cases where there's people who get fairly elitist about it. It's like, we will only watch these sorts of shows, these sort of dark psychological sci-fi shows, and we won't touch anything out of those. And I have some of those people. But I like to think that I've got a mix of people who just, who, I think a lot of my fan base are people who are watching, actually I hate the word fan base, I think a lot of the people watching my videos are people who do want to keep up with things, but are not totally sure about what to keep up with.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like, I'm probably somewhere in between those, because, you know, the shows I'm most experienced with are Dragon Ball and One Piece and like Full Metal Alchemist, you know, like those the big ones that but then I've made some attempts, I'm not really been very good about it, but like, I mean, Trigun's still huge, but I feel like that's not a mainstream name to just Joe Blow, you know, like someone would know Dragon Ball Z or One Piece, but Trigun's maybe a little bit the next tier.
But it's still one that people are still familiar with,
Yeah, definitely, it's not like a niche thing, but then there's, oh god, I can't even remember what it was called, but I watched, it was, what do they call it when it's like an OVA.
Oh, yeah.
Of something, and that was the only thing that was produced of it, you know, and it was something that I had never heard of before, and it was really funny as a comedy show, and god, now it's really going to bug me that I can't think of what it's called, but so then that was like the other side of the coin, where I was trying to like watch some things that I definitely had never heard of, but when you, I think I made this joke a while ago, but when you tweet about stuff, I'm like, I have no idea what is happening here, but I'm intrigued. I actually will look into some of the things that you tweet about. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
I am honestly surprised that you haven't muted me or something, and I'm really happy sticked around for all of my, because I do ramble. I ramble a lot on Twitter, and whether it's just about a show I like or something that's been announced, I do tweet way too much.
No, I mean, it's interesting to me, and It's much better than some of the other people I follow. I have a pretty much a 3-strike rule now, especially with people that I knew in high school. Of like, if you say something stupid 3 times, I'm not. You have not had any strikes, and I don't imagine you will. But there are some of the people that I'm like, oh my, I can't handle this anymore. And then there are people that are just boring. I'm like, I gotta unfollow you. But you're not boring, and you got. I want to learn more about the anime industry and art form, as it were.
Yeah, I think that's my main goal with stuff. I just try and make whatever. I try and present everything sort of from a no knowledge. I've failed at that before. I sometimes get too involved in jargon, but I'm always trying to present things in ways that anyone can basically digest. Anyone can go, okay, I've got some sort of base knowledge for that. I'm not great at it, and I do need to get better at that. But yeah, it is great. I do like producing things and obviously tweeting things that just make light of everything.
Yeah, and it's nice that you're trying to make things accessible. But you know what's weird with me? Maybe it's just a me thing. But when I hear people talking about something that they're really in the know about, it makes me want to learn more about it. You know, so maybe like you talking about jargon actually makes people look into it more. Because I'll hear people talking about like I'm trying to get into a lot of scenes. I just want to learn more about things. But like when people talk about comedy stuff, and they're talking about like these people that were in the scene, whatever, in this year, and I'm like, oh man, that's weird. And the Boston stand-up comic scene in in 85 to 90, I'm like suddenly like falling down that rabbit hole when people are talking about people they know from that. And I'm like, oh man. So I think that kind of works with my type of personality. I'm sure it works with other people too. So maybe do a nice balance.
Yeah. There's always this situation where because I was doing research for a video on a new show called Rampo Catan Game of Laplas. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, so this show, it's not so much an adaptation, but it's definitely inspired by a writer called Edgar Rampo, who wrote mystery fiction, like in the 1950s. And
what was his name again? Sorry,
Edgar Rampo.
So he was a Japanese
guy? So he was.
Okay.
Basically the Japanese equivalent of Conan Doyle. And so a lot of his works actually was inspired by that. Even his main character within his novels is pretty much Sherlock Holmes. But so I went down all these rabbit holes, found these forums, and it was amazing like how many people were like devoted to this author and going, oh, I love, this is my favorite work from him, and here's all these small little facts that nobody needs to know, but it helped build these communities. And yeah, these like weird scenes that I didn't even know that existed based on an author that I'd only just heard about. It was just so interesting to me.
Yeah, that's what popular media does really well. Like true story movies are generally not very true. They're very dramatized. But I'll watch a true story movie and then I'll go research the real event or the real person or whatever. And when it comes to anime, did you ever watch The Wind Rises?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I went down that rabbit hole of researching. Now his name is leaving me. But I looked into that whole situation of like who he was and how he was creating airplane designs during World War II for Japan and stuff like that. And that had like nothing to do with popular entertainment or anything, that's like real history, and it's cool that even specifically in the world of anime that they're doing stuff like that to kind of direct people to learning more.
Yeah, like I am a big fan of the Samurai Warriors games. And
and those are like based in real stuff, right?
They've got all these heavily dramatized like Samurai Warriors from daimyos, like conquerors, and I'm playing it and going, oh wow, I'd love to find out more about these people, and I'm reading like their war exploits and stuff, and I'm realizing there's people in class right now learning about this shit and being bored out of their minds.
Well, it's like the when Assassin's Creed was getting big, people were talking about that a lot. it would teach you, like, it would pop up a little window of like, hey, this is what this place was, and to a certain extent, I also fell down that rabbit hole with that stuff. I probably wasn't in the place when those games were popular and I was playing them to really care that much, but I am now.
Yeah, I remember playing Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and then I think just shortly after, was it the Borgias or something?
Yes, they were the main bad guys. Yes, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, and then there was this like biopic, historical fiction drama series that was just called The Borgias, and so I watched through that a bit. I didn't actually finish it, but it was like, oh yeah, I have some connection to those characters because I think I killed one of them.
Yeah, and it's just really, it's just, you get this weird kind of satisfaction from like knowing something and getting it from, like, it feels almost like cheating that you're like,
yeah,
I know more about Japanese World War II airplane design because of an anime. You know, you feel like a little like satisfied that you got away with like learning about it through something else, but it's a good feeling.
There's this great series called Silver Spoon that
oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, oh nice. That is all about farm life, and it basically just depicts a life that I haven't led, I probably will never lead, but it's a new perspective, and it takes the time to introduce things like, oh, this is what us farmers do. We wake up at 6 a.m., we tend to these animals. Oh, and here's how we feel when we have to put down this pig or something.
Yeah, and that's how I've always felt with Japanese things in general, just by virtue of them being Japanese. You know, like even just like Studio Ghibli's movies, I like feel like, whoa, this is like a whole new place, and like when they always depict rural Japan a lot, and I'm like, man, that seems like a really interesting world that I know nothing about, and I'm sure, you know, other just by virtue of it being foreign, it does that, but I think that it kind of does it really effectively anyways. But
yeah, it's the sort of thing that where I wish more series were set outside of Japan, so that I could learn about, like, oh, let's learn about Egypt through the perspective of anime.
Yeah, I mean, has there been stuff like that?
Occasionally, it's not super common because. Like, the reason a lot of stuff is set in high school is because the main audience of anime is either in high school or was just at high school, and high school is always that moment that everybody can kind of connect with. But, yeah, there's occasionally series, but, yeah, as I said, they're not very common. Like, Baccano is set in America, although it's not so obviously so.
Right. Wait, what is that show about? Because now, the more I was reflecting on it, I might know what it is. Is there a part where they're on a train?
Yes, it's all about it.
It is. They're all on a train. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. I jokingly
so I do know what it
a
is.
show about a train.
Okay, so I am familiar. It's like it is kind of like a detective noir-y kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and it definitely takes inspiration from a lot of American works.
Right, I need to watch that, definitely.
Yes, you do. Okay. I really enjoyed my time.
Because I think that's also the aforementioned friend's one of his favorite shows, anime shows. So I think the universe is telling me, watch it already.
Telling me it's a great favorite show.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we can wrap things up. Where can people find you? I guess I already asked this at the start, but what are you working on? What should people be looking for from you?
Okay, so I actually got a URL, so it's easier to say. So thecanipaeffect.com. It's just YouTube redirect, but it's cooler to say. Or youtube.com/thecanipaeffect is where most of my stuff goes. Also, Twitter @CanipaShow, because I do stuff elsewhere and then I just post it there. And right now I'm working on... I'm working on a review of Starlet, which just finished, and it's this controversial drama series that people have been arguing about. And Classroom Crisis, which nobody watched anyway, but hopefully people will after the video.
There you go. And I'm enjoying your content. I think you do great videos, and
Thank you.
I'll sticking around because I need to get in that anime, man. That animu,
Yes, you do.
as they call it.
You can't escape, though.
No, I can't. It's everywhere. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Great talk, huh? Canipa's great. Really smart guy. A really fun conversation. I'm glad we did it. Next week on the show, Klaus Lingeled. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry, Klaus, if you're listening. Who's Klaus? He's the founder and CEO. He's the main dude at Zoink Studios, which is a great independent video game developer, most recently known for doing Stick It to the Man and Zombie Vikings. But Klaus has a longer history in the video game industry, and we talk about how he kind of turned Zoink from a game studio into an animation studio and then back into a game studio again. And it's a really good conversation. I've talked with Klaus before this podcast for an article that finally went up a long time after we had talked. But I wanted to talk to him and have him speak for himself, talk in his own words in a podcast form, because I think he's really smart and has a great story to tell about Zoink and his personal video game career. So listen for that next week. In the meantime, though, here's all the stuff, the rigmarole. You can like the podcast on Facebook, Butterfly Effect Podcast. You can subscribe on YouTube, Butterfly Effect Podcast. You can follow on Twitter at Butterfly Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Ettletod. It rhymes. ETTLETODD. And then you can email me at trettleman@gmail.com. trettleman@gmail.com. If you have questions, concerns, feedback, people you want to get on the show, whether you know them personally, represent them, or you're just like, hey, you should get this person because they're cool. Thanks for listening. See you next week.